welcome all of you to another session of Bharat Voice. As you know, today's session and today's topic is on the web series culture. Is it binge worthy or is it binge crazy? We're going to discuss this in detail because we have an entire panel, which is not just a lawyer, not just a doctor, a psychiatrist. We also have a columnist, we have actors, and we have a director with us. So we'll try to get a balanced approach. First of all, I'll introduce the guests so that all of you know who's on the panel.
Hi.
Yeah. So Puru, I think, has joined us. First of all, we have Puru with us. Puru Chibbar is a famous TV actor, and he's also acted in many movies. You would have seen him in Band Baja Barat, in Bhumi. His recent stint is SIT, which is Shitty Ideas Trending. You've also seen him in the TV serial Kote Sikhe, Pavitra Rishta, and also, since I said he's now coming on Shitty Ideas Trending, his videos are very, very popular and have over 1 million views. Then we have Mayuri Raghuvanshi ji with us. She's a senior Supreme Court lawyer. She is a partner at Vyom Raghuvanshi and Company. She also teaches law at the Symbiosis Law School, Noida. Her expertise pertains to constitutional law, media law, and the banking laws. Then we have with us Shaunak Kapoor. Shaunak Kapoor has been in the film industry for over a decade. He has also made his own short movies. He's also studied acting himself at the Lee Strasberg Los Angeles University. He's also been a commercial producer for the longest time with all the famous brands. Then we have with us Neha Banduni. Neha Banduni is an anchor. She's an actor. She's also been a radio jockey. Neha is been an anchor and she hosts programs with all the superstars. Kicha Sudeep, you must have heard of him. He's a very popular superstar from the Kannada film industry. Also, Neha has now recently done a web series which is on the Indian Sony Live platform, and it is called 16, which is starring with Ravi Kishan. Then we have Praful Shankar. Praful is from Tamil Nadu. Praful is a columnist. He writes articles for Swarajya magazine. He writes on politics, history, and also he's a political analyst. So he does a lot of number crunching and surveys for political parties. And he's also been in the IT industry for the longest time, but now he's a political analyst. Then finally, we have with us Deeptanshu Agarwal, who's a senior psychiatrist. He's an MD, and he's also the director at the Nirvan Hospital, Lucknow. So as you all know, the topic of today is web series. And the web series culture is almost like a revolution in our lives. Now, if you haven't seen any web series, you have to be living under a rock. Web series is like a culture which is proved to be so beneficial for us and so useful, especially in today's times. Because in COVID-19, no one wants to head out of the house and everyone wants to be safe in their homes and watch something at the comfort of their homes. Web series also is very, very great. Especially, I like the fact that it doesn't hit my pocket. It's great on savings. In just 1,000 rupees a year, I can buy a Amazon subscription, and even lesser, like a Disney Hotstar, I just have to pay 400 rupees a year and I can get a subscription. So you have easy content available to you in such an easy way. You have access to so much content and such great content and lovely stories. So there's effective storytelling in a very, very short time. And of course, lesser money because you don't have to invest in a major feature film. But with that, there's also a very interesting fact. Now we see for the first time in India, a feature film movie is going to be releasing for the first time in India. Amitabh Bachchan's movie Gulabo Sitabo is going to be releasing on Amazon, followed by Shakuntala Devi and many others. My question, and my first question to the panel, especially to the people in the industry, Puru, to you, Shaunak and Neha, is what do you think is the future of the web series culture? What do you think is the future of cinema halls? Are we seeing a possible death of the multiplexes? Also, if you can tell us that how are you guys making money? How does the web series make money?
Regarding your first question, like you rightly said, regarding the advantages of the OTT platform, if you look at the average ticket price of a movie theater ticket today, it's somewhere around 200 rupees on the weekend. And like you rightly said, a Hotstar subscription or a Netflix subscription is also around the same price. For example, the basic Netflix Premium, which is a premium OTT platform, is 200 rupees for the basic monthly plan. And it's the same price that you pay for an average movie that you go on a weekend. So as an OTT platform, it really opens up the world content library. And not just I'm talking about the films, it's also the web series, short films for the viewer versus just one film for that price, So the biggest advantage over here, I feel, is that it has kind of given a lot of exposure, not just to Indian content, but content from worldwide markets, which is going to have a dramatic shift in the psychology of content consumption. We are trained as an audience to view content in a particular manner. We are the only country in the world, like Karan Johar rightly pointed out in one of the producers' masterclass, is that we are viewed, especially theatrical viewing, we view a movie for the interval. Karan very rightly pointed out that we peak, then we stop, and then we peak again. That's a viewer behavior that is very, very particular to our country. Nowhere else in the world do we break for an interval in the middle of a movie. I mean, that's unheard of. So with OTT platforms, the biggest thing which is going to happen is the viewers' viewing habits are going to change. And some might say it's good, some might say it's bad, but that's where we are definitely shifting, because the Indian...
You yourself have released your movie Shaunak on YouTube. Even you wouldn't think of, obviously, first of all, launching it on big screen, because it turns out to be expensive.
Definitely. Yeah, very true.
So then what is the possible future of multiplexes?
The audience will always, I believe, will go for the event film. And by the event film, I will describe it as something which is a very, very spectacle-based, heavy. It's an event. In the same producers class, Ekta Kapoor had mentioned that it's a family event. You basically go out on a weekend with your family out, and you're spending anywhere north of 2,000 rupees for a family. So for the film, has to be extremely VFX heavy. It has to be a spectacle. For example, let's take Bahubali, for example.
Okay.
That's a spectacle film. So the challenge that's going to be is all your small films like Gulabo and Sitabo and other films like Shakuntala Devi, they're all mostly going to go the digital route, the OTT route. The middle tier film...
So you're saying the multiplexes and cinema halls may not die so soon because people would still want to have it as an experience, as a family experience. You want to go out and do something.
Yeah, but the challenge will be to have enough content to play on those theaters in the future, because a big VFX heavy film takes anywhere north of 12 to 18 months, even more depending on the VFX involved. There are huge teams. It takes a massive amount to get ready. So, if you have a 4-week window, you're looking at least having 12 films ready for a year.
Right. Neha,
that's going to be the biggest challenge.
Neha, I'm going to come to you quickly. What are your views about the future of cinema halls as of now and multiplexes as of now? And what could possibly happen? Is web series now the only thing in our lives?
I personally think that there is a consumer for everything that's there in the market. So I don't see it the way it has progressed in the past. I mean, the way families would come together and spend a lot of money going to the cinema hall, the popcorns have been thrust upon them and all that. So I think that will be there, but not in that proportion as we have seen in, when we were growing up. So yes, that will definitely change, and I completely agree with Shaunak, each and every word that he has said, because times are changing. These are fast changes. I mean, so yes, definitely. But the future of web series or any digital content for that matter is very, very bright, because again, in terms of cost effectiveness, in terms of easiness, the mobility that it gives is I mean, it's phenomenal.
See, the thing is, I actually start as an actor first. So as SIT is concerned, that was my first project on the OTT platform. So I had never done, because I think last year this whole thing was just growing slowly. Now they're like everywhere. So because it was a very interesting role, and I've heard about them a lot of times, and when I finished it, the kind of response I got, it was amazing. That too from a YouTube thing, which they are very, they are a separate production and they only make stuff for YouTube.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
usually I always used to believe कि हाँ Amazon का अच्छा होता है, Netflix का it's good. YouTube I was little skeptical, but because I've seen their work and I liked it, and there was a lot of scope as an actor to do a lot of things. So I, after that finish, the kind of response I got, it was amazing, and I was like कि ये लोग YouTube के लिए बना रहे हैं और ये the response they're getting is unbelievable for an actor. And
Your videos have like 2 million views and 1.5 million views easily, like anytime.
I'm sorry I didn't saw the views yet, but okay, if you're saying.
I was searching through all the Bingle and M1 views.
Yeah. They are quite popular. That was one of my reasons to get on board, because मैंने कहा हाँ कोई ना कोई तो देखेगा अच्छा है. So
then how is this part? Is there enough money or no?
see, it really depends on the kind of work an actor has done before.
And what about the business part? People who are making it, because Chavi Mittal has made this. What is it in for them? Are they earning enough money from making it?
Yeah. They are now they're earning like quite a lot of money because because of the views. So what happens is with them on YouTube, because Amazon and Netflix, they're a branded brand and they don't need that kind of promotion. But in YouTube, so what they do now after first 3 years they build it up, and after the third year they started getting brands. So the more brands they add, the more money they earn, because if they're able to afford an actor who roughly charges a decent amount of money, so I'm sure they must be having something with them. So that's a great platform. But again, now the thing is, the time they started was a very beginning of these things कि हाँ मैं बना लेता हूँ YouTube की series. Now everyone is making it. So on YouTube the thing is, वो चीज चली गई है कि हाँ it's very difficult to get a grasp on your production or your content. It'll take a lot of time to get in the revenue that you're putting in.
Okay.
People who have started
Sorry. I'll come to the production bit and the content bit a little later in the session. If I can quickly shift to the very legal framework of this. Now, some of you may wonder what is the legal aspect of this anyway. Now we have Mayuri ji with us, and she will throw light on. And I specifically asked her this, and I'm going to repeat my questions with her. Under what section of the IPC can a complaint be filed against an OTT platform, which could hurt, let's say, religious sentiments, or let's say hurt the sentiments of a particular community, or caste atrocities as they're shown in the web series? And what is there in the Constitution that can add weight? What articles are there in the Constitution that can probably add weight to these cases? Because recently we're seeing that ISKCON filed a complaint just 3 days back against Gurleen Kaur, and that complaint was because she said some really bad words she said against the ISKCON people. And there have been many such complaints. There's a recent series called Godman, which is in Tamil, that has been taken down, and this was just yesterday. And there are also cases against Patal Lok. So can you please explain us, Mayur?
So if I can explain you first in two ways. Now, there is a general law called Indian Penal Code, which defines that what constitutes an offense and what is not an offense. So there is a particular section under IPC called 295A. You've specifically asked me a question with respect to hurting a religious sentiment. Now, 295, what it says is that if there is a deliberate and malicious act which is intended to outrage a religious sentiment, that is an offense. Now, irrespective of whether it is on an OTT, it's in by way of a web series, or it's in a cyberspace, or it is otherwise in a non-cyberspace, this would constitute an offense. Now, the situation is not different if it is on a by way of a web series. That's exactly what we have seen recently, that there has been an complaint requesting to lodge an FIR against the web series in Patal Lok, asking specifically that, they basically making a complaint to show the ingredients of 295A. So this is of course one. So there are specific provisions under IPC to deal with issues like that. Similarly, you also talked about SC/ST Act is there. So if there is a comment against a particular community which is safeguarded by a statute, that also in the cyberspace would apply, and an FIR therefore is sometimes registered under these provisions also. With respect to the ESCON complaint, there is something very interesting that I would like to add here. It's not just about 295A. So for example, under IPC, there are other sections also. For example, there is one that deals with defamation. So 499, if you are saying something which is defamatory. Now, even that section, I mean, interestingly, Indian Penal Code was enacted in 1860. Nevertheless, these provisions are applying even to a situation today, to an OTT platforms, to web series, which were unheard of in 1860.
They were made back in the days. They were made in 1860 and still applying to us.
Yes, this is one. On the second, so there are series of circumstances, offences which are defined under IPC, and they definitely apply to cyberspace also. On your question of what happens to the constitutional provision, so it's very interesting. Actually, under the Constitution, Article 19(1), it guarantees your freedom of speech and expression. So, which means that in fact, your creativity, your creative expression is also a facet of your fundamental right. But what happens is this, that all fundamental rights, even this fundamental right is subject to reasonable restrictions. Now, when you understand this in a holistic perspective, it means you do have a right of creative expression. You do have a right, a freedom, a fundamental right guaranteed under the Constitution to express your views. But subject to, for example, in this case, we can very clearly say, you have a right to speak, but not to hurt a religious sentiment. So if you are making a statement, if you're making a speech which is malicious, which is deliberate, and which is intended to incite religious hatred, in that case, your freedom of speech and expression, your right guaranteed under the Constitution, will not come to your aid.
So, okay, got it, understood. I'm going to quickly come to the actors again. So we dealt with a very serious aspect of this whole web series thing. I'm going to bring it back to the content bit to Shaunak and to Puru and to Neha, and then I'll go to the psychiatrist and to Praful as well. So what I'm trying to say is that, web content is, of course, easily available to us. And what I did was, people around me, I tried to do like a short survey. Okay, I tried asking people around me as to what is it that you would like to see with your family, which does not have any sexual content, does not have any adult content, or does not have any abuses. And it's very sad to see that the replies were a little limited. People replied by saying Panchayat. SIT was my reply because I've seen it. Then there were other family-oriented programs like Ye Meri Family. So you understand where it is headed, in the sense that, do you think, Shaunak and Puru and Neha, do you think it's become almost like a very, hit formula to make it a popular series by putting profanity and abuses and sexual content in your series? Or is it just script ki maang?
According to, as an actor, I can say that these kind of content was not available before. It was there, but सबको लगता था कि यार ये लोग तो गाली देते ही नहीं होंगे, ये लोग तो लाइफ में sexually कुछ करते ही नहीं होंगे. So what they have started doing, कि what we actually are. We actually, in my real life, we do abuse. We do have sexual things going on with our partners, and we all have this thing कि हाँ इसका शायद इससे affair चल रहा है. So these all are very realistic things which have started coming here now, which was already there in the West. So now कि वो आ गया है तो लोगों को लगता है कि अरे यार सिर्फ यही आ रहा है. But the thing, so there are two kind of things. So basically, I have a friend. She in Alt Balaji. So मैंने पूछा यार कि तुम लोग ऐसी चीजें क्यों लाते हो कि मतलब D grade, फिर B grade, फिर A grade.
जिसमें ज़्यादा गालियाँ हैं.
So she said कि see, it's a marketing thing also, and it's also for a lot of producers की सच्चाई क्या है. So there are two different stories. Marketing thing ये है कि पहले
What is
marketing
the अच्छा,
producer thing ये है कि if I'm opening a portal for myself, तो मैं आजकल ऑडियंस किस चीज से आती है टीवी में. अरे टीवी में यार ऐसे दिखा रहे हैं, वाओ गाली दिखा रहे हैं, ये दिखा रहे हैं. Oh, so they subscribe on 100 rupees, 199 rupees. Once they subscribe for a year, I also put in intelligent content, a romantic content. So they have to see that also.
got it.
So that's what they are playing with. And also at the same time, there are a lot of people.
It's a marketing technique, right? Somewhere, right? If I'm asking as a layman, ये marketing technique है ना?
हाँ बिल्कुल. सबको अगर मैं कुछ चीज I'm producing something, I want profit out of it. No, by the end of it, obviously I want to show realistic things and I want to tell the stories. At the same time, how will I tell stories if no one is seeing it? First, I want people to see it. So for people to see it in India, you have to put that content like Gandhi Bhat type. I'm talking about all because yeah. And then you put a show like that Rajkumar Rao shows. Very nice show.
Yeah.
तो आपको देखना पड़ेगा. So पहले आप उनको लाओ ऑडियंस को, फिर ये दिखाओ.
ठीक है. शानक, आपको या नेहा, आप दोनों को कोई पॉइंट रखना है? Is there anything that you want to add?
What Puru rightly said is very, very true. Coming from thinking about as a producer and a content creator, you really have to think about the foremost thing is in content creation is the audience. It doesn't matter what I want to make. It does not matter what the producer's wishes. At the end of the day, the audience or the so-called janta in our nation is the key. It's who you have to cater to. You have to understand who your audience is. And case in point here, if you would study the trending YouTube videos, if you go on YouTube, there's a trending tab. It's a very, very apt psychology of a nation at the very moment of that when you're viewing that. Even if you study the box office returns of films over the past 15 or 20 years, you see what kind of films have broken the box office, what kind of films have the highest footfalls. You can get to see a trend over there. If you see,
are you saying there's a trend of the most famous movies which have like more galis in it?
Well, I'm sure if there's a study that is done there, which a lot of people do, there you can definitely spot trends. Also, regarding the explicitness of the content, if you see there are many apps out there which are free, which are ad revenue driven, and the content on those apps is you can sometimes categorize as very adult, and those are being watched tremendously. If you go on their website, it's one of the most watched shows of those kind. So that means there is a particular demand for such content in the market. So I would like to also get the panelists' opinion according. Also, Ritika, I'm going to come back to you. Then how do we censor that? I mean, how do you come to be able to, is this?
That's my very important point, which I'm anyway going to take up with the lawyer. Neha, you're an actor, you're a woman. If you're acting in a program and you have to shout out dialogues like, you have to say, my vagina is the most important thing. Would you be comfortable doing something like that? Do you think it's important in a, yeah, again, this is a script ki maang. Neha, can you hear me?
You're on mute.
Can you hear me, Ritika?
Yeah. You got my question?
Yeah, I heard it. So what I'm saying is, if I'm doing a film or anything in terms of acting, I'm not Neha. I'm playing that role, that character. And again, it depends if it has to be in sync with the script. And it's very subjective, actually. It depends on the script. It depends on the lines. It depends on the character. But what I personally feel is, you just pointed out that there's violence and sexual interaction and all kinds of stuff that we have never seen before. I mean, when I was growing up, everybody would watch movies together, and I think the society, as a society, all of us have changed. I mean, now people sit, eat, and they talk about their sexual relationships, or they talk about they give abuses to each other. I mean, it's very common, and they take a lot of pride in saying that. ऐसा ही हूँ मैं, you know, I'm like this. So I think that is a reflection. So I think like my mother always says कि फिल्में बिगाड़ रही हैं सबको, but मुझे लगता है it's a constant interaction, you know, it's a reflection. Society reflect कर रही है.
It is a reflection of the society, you say.
Absolutely. तो वो it's a reflection, you know, it's like a mirror reflection. कि ऐसा है वो debatable है कि कौन पहले है और कौन बाद में. जहाँ तक violence की बात है, I personally feel कि if they want to show violence, due to whatever reason, script demand है, movie demand है, blah blah blah, anything. I feel they have a disclaimer शुरू में, but it's just like a formality कि आपने देखा नहीं देखा. Why can't the actor, the main lead, come in front and, you know, dedicate 2 minutes, 3 minutes saying that they have couple of violent scenes in the movie or in the series, and it is absolutely your choice if you want to see. You might have disturbed sleep for the next couple of days, or you might feel agitated, you might feel depressed, but this is what it is. This is what I'm going to, you know, present through my art and creation. And also can say that this is just an art. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm saying, so you're saying that the actor can put the view forward, saying that, you know, we have done this, but yes, this has violence.
Yeah, I mean, they can be honest about it rather than just, you know, किसी तरह से देख लें और फिर बीच में suddenly this scene pops up and you feel awkward or you feel, oh, ये ज़्यादा हो गया. I mean, if I see something like this, I don't get sleep for a couple of days. I mean, I'm sensitive. I'm sure it happens with others also. It disturbs me, bothers me. But if they say it before that episode, hey, this is what it is. This is what we are going to show, and it's up to you. You want to see, you want to do, you know, you want to face those consequences. Go ahead. Otherwise, you can just.
You know, I would like to say one thing is that, you know, every actor is at a different level in their career in the industry today. You know, it also becomes very, very important, and it's a very, very tricky situation because if you're in a position to say no to work, which you feel if it goes against your values, by all means, go ahead and say no, because you know there will be other work coming your way. But the harsh reality is that sometimes there are professionals in the industry who might be just starting off. There might be people who are really, really in need of that work. Then it becomes a question of, you can say, ethics and morals when it comes to a payment was to what you can say ghar chalana versus progressing in your career. And that is something only an actor individually can answer. But that is the question some people face. But if I feel if you're in a position in the industry where you can say no to work, if it disagrees with your values and ethics, you should definitely
Of course, if you're an Amitabh Bachchan, then you can probably refuse something and say that I don't want to do this. But if you're not in that position.
I mean, not just Amitabh Bachchan. I mean, he is extremely senior. He is extremely respected. But I'm saying someone who's even in the web space today, who's just starting off, or if it's just TV commercials, or, you know, someone in the who's not very, very established, but has the power to even say no. If it's against his ethics or her ethics, they should be able to say no at that time, and there should be other work coming their way.
Since we're talking about society, since we're talking about the changes in behavioral patterns, would you like to, because you write for Swarajya and you've written on many such topics, would you like to throw light on how can this OTT, the content bit be dealt with?
See, I mean, I don't know whether there is a right way to deal with content, right? Because generally artists should be given some level of freedom of expression. Otherwise, there is no good art, right? There should be some right and freedoms given to them to challenge existing norms, etc. See, but what I've noticed with OTT, sort of what is happening is, see, one thing we should understand is it is a huge democratizer of the entertainment industry. If you look at the entertainment industry a few years back, we've heard of a lot of people say how nepotic it is. You have to be, you know, if you want to produce a movie, you have to know somebody in that industry to get that level of money, to get access to those actors. If you are a young actor coming up, you're not going to get an audition with somebody like Karan Johar just like that, unless you are, you know, some other film star's son, etc., right? So what's happened now with OTT is that so many people have got access to creating content, and there are so many takers for that content, right? So it's just like we used to say before that, you know, yeah, it's just that how we used to say before that, you know, journalists used to have control over all intellectual opinion. Now Twitter and all has democratized it. Similarly, you will find that these sort of things have democratized content. So a lot of young actors, a lot of young writers, they get chance to come and put their stuff for people to see. And by nature, the entertainment industry is an industry which looks to grab eyeballs, right? So they want to be more shocking. I'm not blaming anybody here. The actors don't take me wrong, but they want to get people to see them. And so, putting in a lot of sexual content, putting in a lot of shocking dialogues, which generally people don't see, it has that sort of eyeball value, right? People just tune in and watch it. And this is a huge competition between people who are creating it and who are generally talented people who want people to watch their talent. And so it's this constant one-upmanship has started, and that has gone into a level in which perhaps the end product or the direction which is going is probably not the best, right? Now, to censor this.
What do you mean by, Rahul, can I see you?
Yeah, sure.
What do you mean by which is probably not the best content?
No, so see, there is also content which comes from a very ideological standpoint, which represents things in an incorrect way. So that is one type of content, right? And that need not be something shocking. It can be a very subtle. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what I was trying to say is some things, for example, like whatever was shown in Patal Lok, and I think there was another show with Huma Qureshi, I don't know in which one, which was frankly slightly ridiculous. So they had a lot of content like that, which was, I mean, for me, it has no sense, but then people tend to see it. So that is one tower of stuff, which is a very ideological thing, which is being put forward, which probably is not correct. The second is with respect to the explicit sexual and violent content that is coming out. See, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. So what I was saying is there are two towers here, right? One is this subtle ideological thing which is projected, which, to be very frank with you, you cannot control. You cannot regulate that, right? Then there is a second one, which is the explicit violence and sexual, content.
You say we can't regulate or we should not rather regulate the sexual content and the violence content?
No, we should regulate that. There are laws for that, right? I think that Mayuri will talk about them in detail. I also have some knowledge in this, but there is a way that you can regulate sexual content. There is a way that you can regulate explicitly violent content. And I don't mean ban, I mean regulate. Make sure that the right people see it, who have the right level of maturity to handle it. That's the way that it should be. The second part, which is the purely cultural sort of feeding of some level of ideological stances, you cannot regulate that, right? That's, in some sense, it's like some level of propaganda. The only answer to propaganda is better propaganda. So that's a different area which we need to look
some of the series are actually propagandas, and the better answer to that is another propaganda. So basically, you're trying to, if I've understood it correctly, you're saying that if there is a content which is showing not so good, if there's a web series showing not so great content, we equate it with something which is showing good content, which is.
See, I remember what Atal Bihari Vajpayee said once: "Ki the answer of a bad book is a good book." So that is the way that you react to ideologically sort of morphed content. But the other things which are sexually explicit, which are very violent, there has to be some level of making sure that the right people see it. Because I have a 5-year-old daughter. I don't want her to see a lot of this stuff. And this is something beamed into homes. So there has to be some method to handle that. I would not say that we should ban it, because I'm not one who believes that banning and putting a lot of rules on artists is the right way to go.
Right. Okay. So Praful mentioned, Deeptanshu, I'm coming to you now finally. Praful mentioned that yes, we should probably in some way legally try to regulate the sexual content. Why is that important? Deeptanshu, आप हिंदी में भी जवाब दे सकते हैं, जरूरी नहीं है अंग्रेजी में बात करनी है. क्यों important है ऐसा content regulate करना? क्योंकि आपको क्या लगता है, क्या उससे कुछ असर पड़ रहा है हमारे ऊपर, या फिर ये भी तो हो सकता है कि मैं कोई कंटेंट देखूं और फिर उसके बाद भूल जाऊं? How does it matter?
हर चीज के प्रोज हैं और हर चीज के कॉन्स हैं, ठीक है. अब जैसे अगर मेरी डॉटर है, ठीक है, अभी तो नहीं है लेकिन अगर होती है तो मैं उसके कैसे एक्सप्लेन करूंगा कि गुड टच क्या है, बैड टच क्या है. वो जो सीखेगी उसी से वो सीखेगी ना. मैं उसको एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर सकता कि वो क्या चीज है, वो कैसे महसूस करते हैं, या कोई सोसाइटी में जाती है तो कैसे बात करना है, कैसे लोगों से इंटरेक्ट करना है, उसे वो कैसे सीखेगी जैसे मैं कर रहा हूँ, जो वो देख रही है. आई थिंक जो वेब सीरीज वगैरह हैं, दे teach a lot of things to children and us. और उसमें ये है कि चाहे अब जैसे अगर सेक्सुअल कंटेंट की बात करें तो वो वही चीज दिखा रहे हैं ना जो हमारी आम जिंदगी में हो रही है, रेप्स हैं या ऑफिस में सेक्सुअल हैरेसमेंट है या चाइल्ड अब्यूज है, वो होती है, हमारी देश में हो ही रहा है। आप सारे पहले हम न्यूज़पेपर में पढ़ते थे कि इस ऑफिस में ये हुआ, वो इस केस में फंस गया, लेकिन हम वो वेब सीरीज में देख रहे हैं ताकि हम अपने आप को बचा सके। मतलब वी कैन लर्न अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स फ्रॉम दीस। जहां तक मैं मानता हूं कि हमें बस अपने आप को कंपेयर नहीं करना चाहिए वेब सीरीज से कि ये जो भी है दिस इज प्योरली फिक्शनल, ये जरूरी नहीं है कि आपकी जिंदगी से जुड़ा हुआ हो। ये जैसे शौनक जी ने कहा या पुरु जी ने कहा कि ये मार्केटिंग टेक्निक्स हैं कि आपको जो कंटेंट मार्केट में चाहिए वो आपको दिखा रहे हैं, ठीक है। बट डेफिनेटली आई वुड से कि ये जो भी वेब सीरीज हैं या हम जितने भी इसको बिंज वॉच करके देख रहे हैं, डेफिनेटली हमारे माइंड पे बहुत इफेक्ट डालती है, मतलब हमारे बिहेवियर पे असर डालती है।
That's exactly what I'm asking you. What effect is it having on us?
Yeah, it changes our perspective of thinking. It also changes our behavior और हमारे लाइफस्टाइल को चेंज करती है। हम नई चीजें सीखते हैं, हम कैसे लोग रह रहे हैं उस चीजों को अडॉप्ट करते हैं, उससे बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो वेब सीरीज से हम सीख सकते हैं।
Okay, क्या ऐसा है कि I was reading a study which was saying that youngsters के ऊपर एक study की गई इटली और स्वीडन में, it was just saying that youngsters जब इस तरह का content देखते हैं and if they are because they're impressionable minds, अगर वो ऐसा कुछ देखें बार-बार sexual content या profanity या फिर बार-बार ऐसा कोई content देखें जिसमें system is always the bad, politician is always the bad person, police cops सारे बेकार होते हैं, इस तरह का content देखने से they not just end up being you know like angry youngsters, they also feel loneliness, they feel they don't want to interact with anyone. क्या ऐसा कुछ है क्या? Or they have some withdrawal internet symptoms? Is that
definitely लोनलीनेस है, डिप्रेशन है, एंजाइटी है, ये सारी चीजें बढ़ती हैं। इसका एक बायोलॉजिकल रीजन है। क्या होता है कि हम कोई वेब सीरीज देखते हैं या हम लगातार देखते हैं तो हमें प्लेजर मिलता है। प्लेजर क्या करता है, हमारे एक्सेसिव डोपामिन से क्रिएट करता है ब्रेन में, और एक्सेस डोपामिन तब क्रिएट होता है जैसे अगर हम वी आर हाई ऑन कोकेन और वीड और एनी अदर ड्रग, तो वो जो डोपामिन रिलीज हो रहा है हमारी शरीर को, मतलब हमारी बॉडी नीड बन जाती है फिर कि हमें वो चाहिए, उस डोपामिन अर्ज की हमें अर्ज होने लगती है कि या वो वाली फीलिंग चाहिए कि जिसमें मजा आ रहा है ना। तो वो बार बार देखने पे ना एक आदत बन जाती है, हम एडिक्टेड हो जाते हैं। दिस इज व्हाट वी कॉल डिपेंडेंस, है ना। अब देख रहे हैं एक बार लगातार एक हफ्ता 10 दिन हमने एक सीरीज देख ली, अब हमें अच्छा लगने लगा कि यार इतना ज्यादा इसमें डोपामिन रिलीज हो रहा है, इसको मूवी को देख के इतना हाई आ रहा है जो नशे में आता है या फिर सेक्स करने से आता है ना। तो वो एक आदत में आ जाता है, एक फ्लो में आ जाता है, तो लोग उसे बार बार देखने लग जाते हैं। और
it's almost like an addiction. आपने उसे बार-बार देखा, it's almost like medically like a chemical reaction in your brain. आप बार-बार उसको देखते हैं और फिर वही आपका नेचर बन सकता है।
हाँ, फिर बाद में क्रेविंग्स होती हैं उसकी कि या इंटरनेट पैक खत्म हो गया या फिर डेटा चला गया, लाइट चली गई, कब आएगा, कब रिचार्ज होगा, and that is also a financial loss also.
Right. Okay, I'm getting in Puru and the actors again. A very important point which we really need to address. कोई भी रोल आप ले रहे हैं या कोई भी रोल आपको ऑफर हो रहा है, where does an actor's conscience lie there as to I can probably say no that this is something I wouldn't want to do because this is something I wouldn't probably even want to watch with my family. तो इसलिए मैं ये नहीं करना चाहूंगा या करना चाहूंगी. Question was, where does an actor's conscience lie in agreeing to a role as to I would want to do this because this probably has too many sex scenes or like very explicit rape scene. Where does an actor's conscience lie in saying that also because this is not great for the society or I don't want this?
Frankly speaking, can you hear me, Ritika?
Yeah.
Frankly speaking, it depends on how much ambitious you are. Because you know that if you say no to this, there are maybe 100 people ready to do this. So it depends on how much you desperately need this role, how fast you want to climb the ladder, or if at all you think you can climb.
Okay.
It absolutely depends on you. I can just talk about myself. For me, acting is like a part-time thing. It's not where I really see myself after 10 years or 5 years, or I really want to do it. I have other hobbies, and I pursue different things. So I many times I say no because it just doesn't appeal to me, or if it has been done, or it doesn't excite me. But not everybody is in a position to say no, because they want to, they want to do things, and if it is being offered with a good money, or a famous director, or a big banner, I don't think so. Practically, maybe they say it in front of the camera, they write it,
And I don't want to do this, but they'll still take it.
But they would be dying to do it. I feel so.
Okay. Praful, I'm coming to you. So I'll bring the culture point a little bit again in term. So what happens is when you have such content, and obviously an actor's choice lies in whether doing it or not doing it. There are also some, offline questions that people often want to ask. Some of the questions were in terms of the content that is out there. Where is the equilibrium? And if is the content bad for us? Someone who's making it is responsible, or someone who's viewing it is responsible? I am responsible in a society. Where is the balance?
See, the content is ultimately created by the artist, right? So the content and whatever is coming out, the responsibility lies with whoever creates it. I'll slightly disagree with the actors and the creative people here who say that the audience rules. Generally, if you ask me, I don't think it rules beyond a point, because a lot of the top actors, directors, they do what they want. It's not like people are craving for no one said I want a craving film in which people call MCVC words explicitly. There was no mass uprising asking people for this. They thought they want to do it, and they did it. They did it. They had the money to do it. They put it up there, and people watched it. That's basically it. So
but
the ownership for content.
What would be the answer to why do people then watch it? If there's MCPC content,
people, see, people will watch anything. So that's how it is, right? There is no if it's entertaining, they'll watch it, and after that, over a period of time, you can't fool people again and again by throwing the same sort of tricks repeatedly. So the smarter content creators move on to other things, or they better whatever they're doing.
What you're using very diplomatic words, Praful.
Right.
What are the tricks? Please specify. What are the tricks you're saying that content makers use?
No, because I'm not saying, I didn't mean trick in a sort of bad way. What I meant is,
in the sense that what is it that's probably their let's say hidden agenda, but it's you can't keep fooling the people.
See, I don't think all of the people have hidden agenda. There are few people who have a sort of left-leaning agenda, which we see coming up again and again and again, right? Which, to be frank with you, I don't think people accept that easily. People will always push back at, on things like this. I don't think that any of these things will become the mass rage that most of the people who create this think they are. So that is definitely an issue which has to be dealt with. There will be a rise from other content creators to match it up. That's my personal feeling.
Okay.
Right. And for that, you cannot ban, you cannot do all that. But the fact is that those content creators are responsible for that. They cannot say that the people asked for this, because people did not ask for something like Patal Lok, or I'm still not able to recollect that series which was there on Netflix or something. Uma Kurushi was. Yeah, that one. So that those are not things which people ask for, and it's not things which is popular with people. They created it because of an ideological standpoint that they had, which they wanted to push out. But to answer your original question, the content creators are responsible for the content. The audience is not responsible. The people who are watching are not responsible. It's the guy who writes the script, who decides to direct it, the guy who tries to fund it, the people who act in it. They have to own up responsibility, good or bad. If it's a hit, you have to, it is the skill of the director or whoever has made something a hit. If it is something which is objectionable, not well thought out, and creating an issue, you have to own up for it. You can't just wash your hands off it by saying that audience wanted it. I don't think that's
Actually,
I would
I would like to add.
Puru, are you there?
Yeah, hi. So I would, sorry.
Can you answer that bit where the viewers are not responsible, but the content creators are responsible? Can you answer that bit?
Yeah, so what Praful said, so the thing is, it's what I feel ki nowadays, because the web content is there, and now you can put it on Amazon and Netflix. So the director who wants to do what they want to do, as he said, will never release a film because they know that they will never ever be able to do a profit from that, because the audience doesn't want to see it. Because audience is obviously, according to me as an actor, audience is very important for me in terms of अगर उनको free में देखने को मिल रहा है वो कुछ भी देखेंगे जैसे उन्होंने बोला. But अगर उनको, अगर अनुराग कश्यप फिल्म रिलीज करता है हॉल में, तो वो कभी भी ऐसी फिल्म रिलीज नहीं करेगा जो ऑडियंस देखे नहीं. वो हमेशा थोड़ा कंटेंट, ऑब्वियसली उसने किया है, बट इवेंचुअली उसने वैसी फिल्म्स करी हैं जो उसने thought ki it would get him money. So the director who thinks ki हाँ मैं तो I'll make this and make this, they maybe out of 5 movies he'll make 2 movies like that who he has to release in the theater where he knows that he will not earn money. But nowadays, if he wants to make a film like that, he will put it on a platform, OTT platform, rather than releasing it. He will never release it in a hall because he knows that audience will not go and watch it. It's very obvious. So audience is important. जब उनको फ्री में मिलता है वो कुछ भी देखती हैं. जब उनको पैसे देके मिल रहा है उनको कमर्शियलिज्म ही चाहिए ताकि वो एंटरटेन ही हो. और वो that's why the directors are doing what they're doing.
You know, Ritika, I just want to step in if you would allow it.
Yeah, sure. Please. And then I'll take the last point from the lawyer. Yeah,
sure.
please.
So I do kind of in parts agree with what Prafulji was saying, but I would also like to point out over here is that, you know, like any other business, it's called show business and it's not show art. First of all, we need to be very, very aware of that. The same laws that apply to any other product, be it a mango drink or a book or any other product, the same business rules apply to the film business. And also one thing that I'd really like to point out over here is filmmaking is one of the most expensive art forms that there is. It's not like you can just write a book or you can do a painting and you can get away with it without having any monetary big finances kind of put to it. Filmmaking requires hundreds and hundreds of people. There are crores and crores and crores of rupees that go into making a product. At that time, a producer, let alone a director, the distributors and the exhibitors are the people who will decide what goes onto the market and not the audience based on data that is already readily available in the market. Yes, do we have to be socially responsible for the kind of content we create? Yes, but it's like saying, "Bhai, junk food itna kyun bikta hai? Bhai, log khate hain to bikta hai. Mat khawa." I'm not saying that it's like the chicken and the egg story. What came first, or what should you prioritize? I'm just saying it's open for debate. That's all.
Okay, all right. So with that, I'm going to take the last comment because it's every time the whole discussion has come to the regulation of the content. So the last bit is from the lawyer Mayuri. I want to ask you this. So we know that there are no censorship laws that exist as of now in India for the OTT platforms. In Singapore, I was reading that the certifications that are there, the PG and the PG-13 RUUA, they already exist not just for films, they exist for OTT platforms as well. I really want to understand from you, the IT Act, do you think the IT Act of 2000 needs to be reformed in order to have like better regulation? Because before you answer this, there's an excerpt that I want to read. This was basically a reply of the government in the Lok Sabha because the government was asked a question in the Lok Sabha on the questions of what is the regulation for such OTT content. And this was the government reply. According to the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology at present, YouTube news channels are not required to register with the government. However, under the IT Act of 2000, as per Section 79, certain due diligence is supposed to be followed. Under the Act, you're not supposed to host, display, upload, modify, publish, transmit, update, or share any information that is grossly harmful, defamatory, obscene, pornographic, pedophilic, and harms minor in any way. So if you can please answer Mayuri ji as to what can the Censorship Act, if it's reformed, and not make it only self-regulatory, because recently I was reading a news that came out that the government has told that the OTT platforms are now given last 100 days to come up with a self-regulation policy.
Yes.
What would you say?
Well, it's not just the IT Act, it's the whole bunch of law that exists today, which we collectively call as media laws. They all need a reform. So, for example, you know, as you rightly pointed out, what happens today is that you refer it to the IT Act, and then you say that if it falls short of these things, then we can, you know, take this off from the internet, or we stop the streaming. But you know, we need to understand there are two inherent concepts here with respect to regulation. One is, of course, of certifying the entire process. So when you are looking at any content, whether it is a show or it's a movie, anything, the one process is that you categorize it, that which category it would fall in. The second, of course, concept is that is it something, like for example, we discussed, does it insult religious sentiments? Is it something which is an indecent representation of a woman, which is something which is prohibited under a particular statute? So we need to look at these things from two perspectives. So if I can just tell you on the regulation thing a bit. As you said, it's very true that as of now, we don't have a regulations in India the way there are regulations in existence in other countries, let's say Singapore. And definitely the government is very keen on coming out with a regulations in this respect.
Okay.
However, what I understand from the news as it is reported, and my understanding is limited to the way the news is reported, is this, that Amazon has raised an objection to this, has refused to sign. There was a meeting which was called by the ministry, but Amazon Prime did not agree to participate, and has also urged other platforms to also join hands with them.
So now, you're saying Amazon did not agree to self-regulate? They didn't want to regulate the content?
See, the way I read it in the newspaper, it's this, that a meeting was called by the ministry, and the ministry had asked them all to come with their suggestions and to agree to sign to the meeting, but they simply refused. Now, I don't know how much more to interpret in this, because I don't have, this is a piece of news that I read, and that's my understanding. But be that as it may, one thing is for sure, that today we don't have a comprehensive regulation for classifying this. Now, for example, for classification and certifying a particular show, it's very interesting that in India, the the only act that deals with certification is the Cinematographic Act of 1952. Now, imagine in 52, the television was not in existence the way it exists today. Forget about the OTT platforms and the web series and the internet media that we are talking about now. And it is for this, and what 1952 Act does, what it says is, it is the purpose is to certify a movie. And before it is exhibited, the maker is issued with a certificate saying that whether it is UA or it is or any other category. And this is the very act under which the certification board, the Film Censor Certification Board, is established. Now, that act is is all set to change, because there is a bill now, 2013 bill, which is pending, and Justice Mudgal Committee submitted a report there where they have suggested a completely new way of certifying, whereby, instead of the earlier U/A method, they are trying to come up with 15+ rating, 12+ ratings. But beyond that, I'm afraid that we are still at a very prenatal stage where the regulations are concerned. We are still going around in that, our understanding. See, the technology is advancing very fast. The online material is going very fast, but the laws to regulate and it's really unrealistic to expect them also to come up with as fast as the technology advances. But it is true that we are not catching up. The legal framework, the legal regime to regulate these contents or to, I mean, forget about censorship, even to certify and categorize them are not moving very fast. We're not going there in that direction very soon.
Also, I was reading a bit, Mayuri, about this a very interesting parental lock thing, which exists in UK and also exists in Singapore. I've lived in the UK. You couldn't see content. You have to put in your age and you have to put in like a ID verification sort of thing. So, what would you say about that? Is there a possibility of getting that in India, or could that
possibility? Of course, there exists. There definitely exists a possibility of having anything, but ultimately, how it would come out. See, there are two things here. One, of course, is this, that when it's an individual discretion, maybe I as a parent could exercise individually, which may differ from one person to the other. The second thing, of course, is that what laws can we have? The understanding today here is this, that there is a broad structure. There is a freedom of expression which is guaranteed to the filmmakers, to the actors, to people in the creative field. But at the same time, there are reasonable restrictions. Now, what those reasonable restrictions are, do they change with time? For example, if you look at the Indecent Representation of Women Prohibition Act of 1986,
okay,
that itself, you know, is something which will change from age to age, from time to time. What may have been an indecent representation few years would change. So then, you know, this is where the whole concept comes. Why regulate? When we talk about a regulatory law, there are some things, you know, which are left to the time and the age and the context, and we can't really, you know, have a straitjacket formula applied to every place.
All right. So with that note, I'm going to come to an end to this session because we've heard everyone's perspective. We've heard the psychiatrist, we heard the lawyer, and a very, very interesting legal perspective. We heard from the actors, and we also heard from Prabhu, who's the columnist. There's a very small point I'd like to make before we leave. There's a recent survey that suggests that 55% of the Indians now prefer OTT platforms over the DTH services, and 87% of the Indians are now watching all the content and all the videos on their mobile phone. So what is the future of web series? What is the future of web content? That time will tell, as Mayuri said. With that, thank you so much for joining me and being a part of this discussion. I hope it was a balanced discussion and all of us learned something from it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.